Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the Infinite Starfield, a new Kickstarter. Before we get started, roll those credits and a quick word from our sponsors. PCBWay are proud sponsors of the channel. They offer industry-leading 3D printing services covering all types of materials and processes. They also offer industry-leading online CNC machine services from milling, machining, and turning in all the materials you could possibly need. They also offer a fully online prototyping PCB service. Everything from assembly through to design, you can do it all online with an easy system to use for quality. So for all of your needs, check out PCBWay in the link in the video description. So, disclaimers out of the way first. First and foremost, we have been given some initial notes of specifications and the features of this machine, but the opinions expressed in this video are our own. We are not paid for reviews. This machine was sent to us by Infinite Starfield for the purposes of the review, and we do get to keep the machine after the review is finished. However, they have no creative control over the video, they have no editorial rights, they haven't picked the models. I don't think anybody would pick this model, and ultimately this is us doing a review as honestly and openly as we can. Okay, you can see we've done a number of smaller models, you can see we've done a number of models that haunt me in my dreams, so you can take from this video what you need. Right, those out of the way, let's talk about the largest machine we have had in the workshop. This is bigger than the Apex Maker, it's bigger than the P13. The build volume is roughly the same, but that is where the similarities end. The Infinite Starfield is an SLA printer, not an MSLA printer. So there is no screen, there is a laser module on a motor that goes off and cures the resin. It does use the same resin as MSLA, but the two technologies are fundamentally different from each other, and I'm going to try and not draw direct comparisons between something like this or a competitor in the market like Apex at this size, or indeed a Frozen Mega 8K or something like our Magforms P13. Let's talk specs and features. First thing, build volume, large. 350 by 200 by 350 on the Z. All of that space is usable. We have tested full build plates, and all of that space is absolutely usable for these prints. It has an auto refill. The way that works is you take one of their bottles, you add a rubber cap that goes on the top. It then goes upside down in a hole on top of the machine. There are two little needles that pierce this rubber cap. That then keeps the bottle in there. You can take the bottle out and it doesn't leak. We have tested that. It doesn't. There's a button on the inside of the printer on the nozzle. You press that and it starts drip feeding resin through just like this. Now, it works. It is not designed to fill your tank. It is designed to top up your tank. There is no resin reclaim on this machine. Frankly, most of the resin reclaims we've used, certainly on larger machines, are garbage anyway, and not really a feature that we end up using, but this doesn't have resin reclaim, it just has resin top up, okay? The vat itself holds about 1.5 litres before the resin tap starts to fill it up. It will fill all the way up to about 2 litres in the resin tank, and it will try and keep it pretty even at that level. Something to bear in mind is that the sensor for it is on the back right hand side there. So you need to make sure that your printer is on a level platform, because if the resin is tilted one side, it won't trigger it won't trigger the level sensor to say that the thing is topped up, and you could end up with the build plate going into the vat and spilling over. There is a carbon filter on the inside of the machine. You get a spare one of those as well. It's an activated carbon filter, and it really does remove all of the smell. Our studio and workshop in here isn't massive. Generally, when we have resin printers, especially if they're printing, and especially if they're printing large stuff, you can smell the resin. You really can't smell the resin with this. So that's really, really good. The vat itself is heated. It works. I haven't found a way to turn that heater off. It doesn't seem to be creating any banding issues. It keeps the resin at a stock temperature. I don't have any material complaints about it. Because the auto feeding system is drip feeding resin in, there really is very little chance of temperature shock by adding that new resin in, and the machine itself does actually get fairly warm while it's printing. So the difference between MSLA and SLA is quite stark. In MSLA technology, you have a screen, and that screen is curing an entire layer all at once. What that means is that if you have one print or 10 prints, if they are all the same Z height, the print will take the same amount of time regardless. That isn't how this SLA technology works. This SLA technology, think more like your home scanner that you used to have. It starts on one end and it moves that beam across, firing the laser in a predefined path that then helps that model to move up. And that's how it cures that layer all the way across. The important differences between this are that the laser is, if you were to try and get the XY resolution of this laser in MSLA, it would need to be a 16K screen, which currently doesn't exist to the best of my knowledge. I think there is one obscure company in China that is working on a 16K screen, but right now it doesn't exist. The level of quality that you're getting out of this is insane for a printer this size. So if we compare this, and this is, again, I'm trying not to compare it with MSLA, but it's the only frame of reference I have for this. The XY microns on an Apex Maker X1, which is an 8K 16-inch printer, is 47 microns. This is 24 microns. So it is almost double the pixel density, even though there aren't any pixels. The XY resolution is what gives you the fine detail. To be clear, this is like taking an 8K screen and cramming it down into something like a mini 8KS from Frozen, right? Really, really dense, really, really high quality, going to pick up all of those individual, like tiny little details. It's going to pick all of those up. The quality of prints that we have got off of this machine are amongst the best we have had on any resin printer. I cannot stress that enough. I am doing large things, but we're also doing small things, and it just eats through them. It is astonishing how high quality this is. However, what it means is that MSLA is curing a whole layer all at once. This isn't. So if you only have one model versus 12 models, which is something that we did, there is a time difference. So we printed this little Eiffel Tower. One of these took 6 hours 43. 12 of these took 10 hours 44. So to be clear, it's not 12 times slower printing 12 models like it would be with FDM, for example, but it was longer, right? You can see on the build plate, we have the 12 on there. They all printed beautifully, I want to point out. But ultimately, you need to understand that this is slightly slower than regular resin printing. And the more models you add, the longer it's going to take. Second point, with this Kickstarter, you get a few extras. So you get a carbon filter, you get some spare ACF, which is brilliant, and you also get a year of Chitubox Pro. Brilliant, we use Chitubox Pro all the time. There is a little plug-in that has to go into Chitubox that will be standard by the time that this printer releases. And basically what it does is it slices the model and then it converts it to the format that it needs, which I believe is QDX. Again, it's available in the new beta. We've used it. It works very similar to how the Anycubic M3 Max works, which is that it first of all slices it and then it converts it into the format that it needs so that this can read it. Important point. The settings in Chitubox are almost irrelevant. It doesn't pay attention to the vast majority of them. All of the settings for this machine are contained in the machine. It does need the file slice, so it can't just take an STL file and off it goes. You add your support settings and it slices it down into the individual parts, but this machine is doing a decent amount of legwork. This isn't just turning on a screen and just printing the thing that's been done, all the work being done on your PC. This is working for its meal, right? This is absolutely doing stuff, and the printer settings and printer parameters are inside this machine. Doesn't matter what you change in the slicer regarding exposure settings and all that stuff. It's all done on the touch screen of this machine. Important thing to remember is this doesn't have a screen inside the machine. So there is a piece of glass that is like 99.9% optically clear. You would expect that in an MSLA printer, but there is no screen at all. So you can see directly into the machine, which is kind of cool, but as well, it means there is no screen inside of this to break. Now, at best, out of an MSLA screen, you can expect around 4,000 hours of printing. Not bad, a decent amount of time, but it's a consumable part. The laser on this is 20,000 hours. 20,000 hours. Now, even if you said it's half the speed of, say, an Apex Maker, which again is a very, very fast printer anyway, you're still talking about 2 to 3 times the lifespan of a screen in this laser. Again, I'm trying really hard not to draw comparisons because they are materially different technology, but people understand MSLA technology, so it's trying to use that as a frame of reference. Then we have the party trick of this machine, which is that there is an insert that slots into this machine. You get a battery-powered or rechargeable, turntable that goes inside the machine, and it turns it into a curing chamber. So you only have to have a wash station because you are both printing and you are then curing inside of this machine. The way that that works is quite clever. So there is a shelf that goes in that completely covers the vat, so you do not have to remove the vat and you don't have to worry about the resin in there curing. There is a detector switch at the back that detects when that cover is pushed all the way in. That activates the UV control, which is the panel on the front. You then place this inside, set your timer, press UV, shut the cover, and away you go. It's as simple as that. Is it the best curing chamber we've ever used? No, it's not. Does it work? Absolutely. There are a couple of things that I would like to see, which is that this turntable is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I would like to see covers or something that goes on top, because obviously you're putting the resin on here and then it gets all resiny, so you have to clean it off afterwards. This isn't mirrored, so you have to rotate your prints halfway through to make sure you're curing the underside as well as the top side. And obviously there's no UV on this, so it's not blasting up anything from there as well. It is USB rechargeable. There's a USB Type A port inside. I don't really have anything else to say about this. It's a feature that works. Personally, my workflow is that we have a wash and cure all-in-one station. So this doesn't really save me any space, but it saves me a little bit of time. I can wash things, put them in here to cure, and then carry on washing other things whilst I'm waiting for the cure to finish. As I say, it's not the most amazing cure station I've ever used. It's by no means the worst. It does its job. You know, what else can you say about that part? Something I do want to highlight at this stage is that this is a prototype. So there are things on this machine that will more than likely change by the time we get to retail version. But that being said, okay, so moment of truth. Let's take a look at the models. Right, okay, so let's start out with the print test. So let's get this in focus. This is a standard print test. We do this on a lot of machines. It's from Frozen, and you can see absolutely everything in this. Absolutely everything. Really, really clean, really nice. I'm trying to get this as clear as possible, but this is a very, very nice first print. We then decided to go super, super small. So we've got this little guy. You can see him here with all of his armor on. This is it raw, but this is it primed, so you can actually see some of the detail. And he is incredibly detailed. A really, really nice little model there. So we went really small for them. You can see from the colour of this that not all of these resins are the same. So these white ones are Yayo resin. This here is Sunlu resin. And the darker stuff, all of this, is all resin by Starfield. We wanted to show you different stuff so you know you're not losing detail in the other models. So whilst we carry on with this resin, we've got here, we've got the Predator. You can see, actually still a support in there as well. Get rid of that. So you can see there's still a few supports on this, but he has come out absolutely beautifully. No lines, no missteps. Really, really nice. The detail on the teeth, incredibly detailed there. Really, really nice model. And then we've also got Hellboy here. So Hellboy, again, this arm, really, really good. The face and all the hair and everything came out exactly as we wanted it to. The same with all the detail on this armor as well. You can see the texture on his jacket there. Really, really good detail there. So we have this one, this Goblin Princess. There's anti-aliasing isn't a thing on this. So where you've got round surfaces, they actually come out really round and smooth. We've got a really nice face there, really detailed. The hair came out really nicely, so did all the ears. Beautiful little model there, really, really nice. We've then got one of the Eiffel Towers. So this is a very delicate model, so I'm going to try very hard not to break it. But you can see that this was the single one. I've actually unfortunately broken the peak off of this, but this is in their resin. All the girders came out perfectly. Feet came out really nicely. Everything printed really nice. And we'll take a look at the 12 that printed as well in a second. We've got this faceless angel dude. Get that to focus. There we go. Again, very, very nice detail. Super thin wings, but beautiful detail on the wings there. A couple of little supports still dinging about that we need to just brush off. But a very, very... There we go. A very, very nice little model. This is in the Starfield resin. We have a Cobra head here, also the Starfield resin. And again, you can see all of that detail. Please ignore the white stuff. I'm in desperate need of needing to change my IPA. But this, again, came out absolutely beautifully. Really, really nice. As did the base for that as well. So, really fine detail. Really nicely printed. We've got, let's call him Brian. And Brian is very, very detailed. You can see there is all the texture on his armour. He doesn't have a face. The face is printed separately. Annoyingly, the faces are literally this big. And I put them in my IPA bucket. Unfortunately, my IPA bucket has like has a cage. And the faces fell through the cage into the bottom of the IPA bucket. I can't get them. So he doesn't have a face, but the face printed separately. So let's just... There we go. You can see all of the detail on him there. All the detail on these wings. Really, really nice. Again, really sorry about the white residue on this. Kind of spoils parts of this print. I will change it and put up some better pictures. We have this guy. I don't know what he is, but he has like a million serpent things on him. All of those serpents have their own fangs. All of those fangs came out. We'll call him Sue. So Susan is having a bit of a wacky hair day, and Susan is really, really detailed. Look at the fine little teeth that are on top of this flag just here. I mean, really, really nice. Beautiful, beautiful prints. And then we have the big guy. Right, so let's just talk to him very quickly. So as we said before, the base is FDM. That was genuinely, it was just a time thing. We didn't have enough time to get everything done all in resin. We had to get some stuff done. So the base is FDM. We've got Starfield resin for his head. We have a mixture of resins, kind of a fun bottle that we had left over that we used for his torso, and then it's Sunlu for the side and bottom, and then it's also Sunlu for his police officer badge as well. This isn't the world's best STL file. It was cut up appallingly, and we've had to do a little bit of repair work on here and things, but overall this model from torso to head is 3D is resin printed, and then the base is, as we said, is FDM. He is huge, so overall he stands, he is life size, so I don't know if you can tell, but the head sized. So we're actually going to put real sunglasses on him because of how big he actually is. A really, really cool model. This is actually for a friend of ours who rather desperately wants a T1000. We don't have the best track history when it comes to Terminator models, so I'm not loving the idea that we're doing it again, but Mike's doing this one, so I don't have to care. Beautiful model, nice and big. So again, this section here was all one piece. The head was all one piece, except for a small disc on the side that just wouldn't fit on the build plate. Then you had this section here and this arm section here. You can see that he is quite thick. So he goes all the way back. This then keys into the FDM part of the base there. But he is an absolutely glorious looking model. He's huge. Being able to do him this size was only really possible on the Starfield. And we haven't lost any detail in doing him this size. So I'm really, really happy with how that's turned out. Okay, so as you can see, the details on these models are mind-blowing. So we've used the Starfield resin. We've then taken an empty bottle of Starfield resin and we've poured in Yayo resin because we wanted to carry on using the automatic resin feeder. And then we filled the vat with some Yayo resin, and you can see the details are crisp, clear, everything looks good. We had some sizing issues, let's call them, with the Terminator. I don't know who cut this up, but whoever did is a bad person. I think that's fundamentally what they are. We had to cut certain sections off. We wanted this to be 100% life size. It's a little bit too big to be able to do that, so we had to slice a little bit off of the helmet. The base of this, just so we're open and transparent, the base of this is FDM. That was purely a time thing, okay? So let's just talk about the time it took us to do this, because we were doing this for pretty much a week solid. So there was a week in trying to do everything else, and then there was a week in just doing this. So the head was 62 hours. The large part of the torso was 68 hours. Each part of the extra sections were 15 hours each, and then we had another. I think it was another 6 hours, 6.5 hours. Sorry, to do the badge. So all in, it took us around a week to get all of that done. It took us, I think, with a little bit of downtime, because some of us sleep. I think it was about 8.5 days of printing, taking stuff off, getting prints back on as soon as possible. So we had to do the base in FDM, because there just wasn't enough time to get the review done with the base as well printed in resin. But I think you'll agree that he looks pretty special. His glasses as well, I think they were about I haven't got it written down, I think they were about another 6-hour print. We didn't do them at the same time as the badge. We probably won't be using those glasses when we finish the model, but that'll be another video, so don't worry about that for now. Second disclaimer, Kickstarter is a platform with no guarantees, and there is a risk associated with Kickstarter backing any project. This machine existing does not mean that this Kickstarter will deliver. You don't have the same consumer rights with Kickstarter as you do when you walk into a shop, because you are backing a company for a set amount, and that set amount entitles you to a reward pledge if the campaign delivers. There are a lot of Kickstarters going around at the moment. We really like this one, but you need to go in with your eyes open and understand that Kickstarter as a platform has an associated. So the things I love about this are the sheer detail that it captures. When you're dealing with MSLA technology, the bigger you go, you start to spread out your pixels and you lose the ability to capture that really fine quality. It's one of the reasons we still use our mini 8K S all the time, because it's incredibly good at capturing very, very, very fine details that our Mega 8K and our Apex just can't keep up with. The pixel density on those machines is like 47 to 50 microns, and the one on the Mini 8KS is much closer to this. It's about 21 microns. This one's 24. So you get all the benefits of size without the downside of losing some quality or losing some capability. There is a trade-off, which is that this is not as fast as an MSLA printer, but I would rather wait to get a whole part, because this is larger, and retain that quality and simply live with the fact that this does take a little bit longer. If, to be clear, it does take a bit longer than, say, the Apex Maker or something like that, but if you take my Anycubic M3 Max, it's only about 20% slower than the Max is than this. Like the Max is not a fast printer on a standard Anycubic profile, and we aren't using speed resins or anything like that. These are just the standard resins that come with Starfield. And frankly, with the quality that this is turning out, it's not noisy. I don't have any odor. The vat heats itself. Like, this is getting really close to a printer that I actually really like using, and is really, really a workhorse. It's about retaining detail, and it's about making sure that you can produce the highest quality parts, even if they take just a little bit longer. And I'm happy making that trade-off. I'm not in a particular rush to get the vast majority of my stuff done. But it means that I can get rid of smaller machines now because I have big machines that can do big parts like the P13 or like the cool Sega and like the M3 Max. And then I have a big machine that can actually do really detailed small parts as well as really detailed big parts. So there's a lot of versatility in this. I don't generally use VAT top-ups. I do use the VAT top-up on this. Really works well, does exactly what it says on the tin, takes a little bit of stress out of worrying about whether or not whether or not I've just managed to get enough resin in there. Has stopped me from overfilling my resin tank, because there are times where I fill my resin tank up as much as I possibly can so that I know the big print that I'm putting on will finish. Don't have to do that with this because of that auto top up. I'm not in love with the fact that you kind of have to use their bottles. You can take these caps, so these rubber caps come in the box with their resin, and you can actually pierce them about 10 times in the same space before rotating them, and then they'll pierce again. You've got a good 30 to 40 times that you can take a bottle out and put a bottle in before the cap needs to be replaced. They will be available for sale on the Infinite Starfield website, so if you do need more caps, you can get them. You don't have to use them, obviously. If you don't want to, you don't have to use the auto refill. You just turn the button off on the top and you can just top it up like normal. But if you want to use it, the option's there. I'm not in love with the fact you have to use their bottles, but the mechanism they've chosen to use does actually work really well, so it's kind of hard to fault it. The detail in these models is something that I have only seen in much, much smaller, much higher resolution machines. I've only really seen this level of detail on something like the Mini 8KS. I haven't seen this level of detail on machines this size. There just isn't anything out there that's really competing with it. Now, just so we're clear, there are other SLA printers that are out there at the moment. There is the eMake, there's things like the Formlabs machines and things like that. So there are direct comparisons that you can draw between those. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those machines to be able to compare it directly to. But this machine works. This is a prototype, it's not the retail version, and the prototype works. There's nothing in it that I specifically want to change. The UI is a little basic. That's about it. That's about the only thing that I can say that this doesn't have that would be nice if it was a little bit of a nicer UI. It reminds me a bit more of an e-ink display or something like that. But it works. It does the job. There's not anything missing from that screen. I'm just not in love with how it looks. The only other thing that I will say is this machine doesn't currently have Wi-Fi and it doesn't currently have Ethernet. I assume that the reason for that is because A, it has no internal storage like a number of machines do, and B, the slicer isn't actually telling this machine how to print, right? This machine decides how it prints. The slicer is just cutting up that model and adding supports. So it's not really, it's not really using that slicer feature in the same way. I would like to have seen it with maybe a network feature. I think that the type of people who are using this are going to be sort of keen to get that. But to be clear, we do have an SD card slot on the front, which means that it's nice and easy to access. It's not inside the machine like some machines have done, and it's not round the side or anything else. Does exactly what it says on the tin. The hood is on pretty solid hinges. It stops when you open it all the way up. It doesn't stop at multiple points as you move it down. You get to about, you can sort of move it down a little bit, but you get to a certain point and the weight of it just pulls it down. It's not soft close or anything like that. The build plate is solid. It does not have any etchings on it. It doesn't have any holes in it or anything like that. So there's no sort of weird gripping to the model. And what it means is that models like this come off really, really nicely. It comes factory leveled and it comes with a factory Z offset. You can, if you need to, adjust those things. They are adjustable, but you don't need to. It's only if the printer suffers a really bad fail or a really bad fall, you can adjust the Z level, but you don't have to. It comes leveled from the factory. I really, really like that. So that's where we are, guys, right? The price of the Starfield is going to be $1,099 US on the Kickstarter. It's about 50% off of MSRP. I want to be really clear that that does not include shipping and tax. Infinite Starfield are working very hard behind the scenes to get us a country by country list of what you are looking at regarding shipping costs and tax costs. I think that's a really important thing to do. If we take a look at something like the Apex campaign, it's something they have really, really struggled with, and it's something that has been an objective issue on the group, where all of a sudden there's been this really expensive cost. This is a large machine. We'll do an unboxing. We've got an unboxing video of taking it out the crate that we'll stick up on the channel, and it's big. The crate it comes in is large. This requires two people to be able to move it around safely without popping something on your body, although it popped everything on my body, so that was fun. So just be realistic about the fact that, yes, the machine is $1,099, but there is going to be a shipping and import charge that needs to be included in that as well. Different for each country, but bear that in mind. Okay, so that's not, the $1,099 does not include your shipping or your tax. Okay? Should you buy one? I struggle with this question simply because I want to recommend this. I really do. And to be clear, I do recommend that you get one. The difficulty with saying that is that A, it's a Kickstarter, and you need to make your own risk-based approach and risk-based decision about whether or not you are okay with the chance that this may not deliver. I personally believe that to be a small chance, but that's because mine's already here, right? And I haven't shelled out the money for it. So there's that straight out of the gate. The second is this is a huge machine. You need to make sure you have the space. You need to make sure you have the you just have the space to actually fit it on a desk, the space to be able to open it. It's a lot. The machine is incredibly heavy, so if you're unlikable or your friends don't come around your house very often to help you move this to where you want it to be, get ready to print on your doorstep because you'll be able to crack the box open and that's about it. It is heavy. The machine itself is around 62 to 70 kilos. I can't quite remember how much it actually weighs, but it's a lot. It is a very, very heavy machine. You need to make sure it is going on a solid desk. Don't put this on an IKEA lack table. Make sure that this goes on a solid desk that you can then print with. You need to decide whether or not blazing fast speeds is a trade-off that you can or can't make. This will retain your detail, give you the build volume that you want, but it is slower than traditional MSLA machines. You'll get 2 to 3 times the life out of the laser than you would do out of something like the Apex Maker's screen. And those screens aren't cheap, right? A Mega 8K screen is like $400. Apex haven't released how much their screen's going to cost yet, but I can guarantee you it's going to be more than that. So you have to make a choice about whether or not this machine and this technology is right for you and your applications. I'm a huge fan of this machine, and I'm really looking forwards to bringing this into my workflow, to being able to produce this level of quality in prints. I'm really excited about what this means for the things that I can do going forwards. And I really hope that you guys have got what you needed from this video to get excited as well. There will be more videos to come. We'll be on the group, and very soon we're going to be looking at hosting a live Q&A session where you guys can pose your questions straight to us. That being said, if you have questions, put them down in the comments below and we will do everything we can to get those answers. If we don't have them, we'll go direct to Infinite Starfield and we'll get those guys to answer. I want to be really clear. We don't work for Infinite Starfield, okay? They sent us the machine, we're doing the review, but we are independent in this, so we want the same answers you guys do. And that's it, that's the video. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Please check out the other videos on the channel. We're gonna have more coming on this. We'll see you on the group, we'll see you on the Facebook group if we haven't seen you already. Thanks very much for watching, catch you on the next video.